Thank you for listening to Remake Rewind, the podcast where we decide if some things are better off left in the past. Today we've got a special episode. We're going to be doing just Batman in cinema. It's going to be more of a free-form, casual conversation than what you guys are used to. It's going to be pretty great. I'm Mike, as always. With me, I've got Double D. How you doing, Double D?
I'm doing great, Michael. I just watched a bunch of Batman.
Yep, I did too. Dustin, how are you doing, bud?
Hey, I'm doing great.
And we've also got a special guest from Get2ThePodcast. We've got Thaigo Desouza. How you doing, man?
I'm doing well. I thought you were going to say somebody else because you said special, so.
Oh, well, we're not talking about Nick.
Oh, no. I'm not agreeing with that. Nick's not special. No, I'm just kidding.
All right. So, Diego, just really quick, why don't you tell our listeners a little bit about your podcast, and we'll just get your plugs out of the way and start talking about Batman.
So, Get to the Podcast. We are in love with 80s and 90s films, so we sit there and we talk about them. We have our verses. We do so much about it. Nick and I rant against each other. Neil kind of jumps in as your basic movie viewer and just says, guys, stop fighting, stop arguing, love each other, and then we throw out cuss words. That's basically our podcast.
Sounds like a great podcast.
It's really fun. I've been listening to it since the beginning. Get to the Podcast has kind of been, I don't want to say sister podcast, but you guys got started right around the same time we have, and we've kind of bounced ideas off of each other and supported each other on Twitter and Instagram and everything. So really great group of guys. I listen every single week. So definitely check out Get to the Podcast. That's Get to the Podcast with the number 2. And it's pretty great. So that's enough plugging you guys. We're just going to get into the discussion. So we are going to be talking about Batman in cinema, Batman in TV, just a general Batman conversation. So where do you guys want to kick it off?
I want to say hi to Dustin.
Hey, David. Hey, man.
What's going on, Dustin?
Oh, I'm just doing this podcast.
Yeah, I think Mike forgot about you.
I said hi to
No,
Dustin.
he said hi to me. Just really
I
briefly.
Think
Well, I really
excited to get
really
to our guest.
appreciate it, David. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Which Batman did you enjoy the most?
There you go.
Yeah, I think Dark Knight was probably one of the better ones that I watched recently. So I watched the '89 Michael Keaton Batman. I watched the Dark Knight, and I watched Batman vs Superman. And I think the acting in Dark Knight was my favorite for sure.
Yeah.
I would agree. I think the acting from that perspective, like Christian Bale is probably the most capable Batman and Bruce Wayne.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That we saw. I don't know. What
I
do you
agree
guys-
with that.
I agree. Like, the big thing with Batman, and I think the Christian Bale Nolan verse addresses it the best, is Batman is the true person and Bruce Wayne is the mask and the character. And I think that's the only one that we've had where Bruce Wayne is played up to be this billionaire playboy, and he's drastically different, and he puts on the whole, like, I'm going to go buy this hotel, and I'm going to go be, a smug asshole.
I'm going to take off with the entire Russian ballet.
Exactly.
All of that, and just being a dick and pretending to be drunk at his birthday party and burning down the house to get rid of all the guests so he can fight the League of Shadows.
Yeah.
In the first one, it's a character and an act he's putting on. That's really the only one that we see that really happened.
Yeah,
I think that was the best balance between the Bruce Wayne and the Batman as well.
Yeah, I agree. Christopher Nolan did a very emotional Batman. And I mean emotional where he just set off a lot of different emotions with Batman. You really felt like he was going through these things and he was making calculated decisions that would affect him negatively or positive, not actually positively, but negatively. And you see that when, he throws people out of the party because he was acting like a drunk, and he did that to save people. But it was just, and I think the Michael Keaton one was more of a fun Batman film where you just went and enjoyed a movie, where Christopher Nolan was more of a, you're going through these emotions with Christian Bale as Batman and as Bruce Wayne.
Yeah, I guess also to just kind of back up a little bit, I think like the important thing to really remember when you're watching all of these movies is like every generation has a Batman, right? Like, I mean, you got from the original comic books to like the 60s Adam West Batman, which is like funky and silly and weird. And then, you've got like the animated series Batman, which to a lot of kids is their Batman, right? You've got like obviously the
Kevin
'89
Conroy.
Batman. All of them are really different. And I don't think any of them are incorrect. So I don't want to come off.
I
like,
agree. I think
making
even
that point.
within so Tim Burton and the Joel Schumacher Batman, so Michael
Sure.
Keaton, Val Kilmer, and George Clooney are all supposed to be the exact same character, and those are what you would consider a soft reboot where they just change an actor.
Right.
But you've got in that series, in those 4 movies, Commissioner Gordon is the same actor across all 4. Alfred's the same across all 4. And in each movie, they refer back to the previous one. So in Batman Returns, they do refer back to Vicky Vale. When they in Batman Forever, which I watched that one too, they refer back to Catwoman. And then in Batman and Robin, which I watched last night, and God, that movie's a train wreck, but it is so bad that it's good. I thoroughly enjoyed watching that movie last night. There's a scene where they go into like the evidence locker, and you see the Riddler's costume, Two-Face's costume, you see like a Catwoman whip, and you see like a Joker suit. Like you see everything. So it's all one continuity. So,
Well,
but
I
each
think that
character
just
did something.
the character Batman like has had so many. Even if you were to put just into the comics, like there's been so many different creative teams taking their own approach to these characters, right? Like to not only Batman, but as you said, all the rogues gallery, right? Like all the villains are important. Like there's just different interpretations of them. So like some are better than others or more enjoyable than others, but like I don't know. I think one of the coolest things about Batman is there have been so many different versions to watch.
I think this is
Yeah,
why,
they're all
absolutely.
different too.
to me, this is why the new series of films have been harmful for my health because Batman is so iconic and has been done in so many incredible ways, and then I don't think Ben Affleck is a bad actor, but I think this whole row of Batman that's been going on right now is just, what are you? Are you Dark Knights? Do you need a Vicky Vale in your life? What is going on with you, Batman?
It is definitely a Batman that doesn't know who he is.
Yeah.
And that's the problem that I have with these. So I did watch Batman vs Superman and Justice League, and Justice League was supposed to be like Warner Brothers and all the people at Jeff Johns, who's running the DCEU, have said this is going to be the turning point. They're going to recalibrate the entire universe with Justice League and make it fun. And I'm not going to spoil this movie. It just came out. It is more fun than the previous movies, but it's still not right. The big problem that I have with the Ben Affleck portrayal, which I was actually somebody who was like, oh, I can see it. He's got, he's a big dude. He's got the superhero chin. He's a good actor, especially if he ends up directing the Batman movies, which is what we thought was going to happen. I would think it would be really awesome. My problem is there is no difference between him and Bruce Wayne. So in Batman vs. Superman, which is where we see him as Bruce Wayne the most, he goes to Lex Luthor's party and stealing stuff, and he's not a good Bruce Wayne. Like when he gets caught, he's just like, oh, I was looking for the bathroom. Like it wasn't believable. Like it was very obvious he was trying to steal shit because he was in their mainframe room. He goes running into the building as the building's collapsing at the beginning of the movie. Like there is no difference between Batman and Bruce Wayne in this movie. It doesn't make any sense.
He's trying to be a hero the whole time.
And he's just gruff and a dick the entire time. And I get
The
that
way
he's supposed to be jaded.
The way that I had this Batman, as I watched the movie, what went into my mind was the Batman right before Batman Beyond.
Right. That would be interesting if they took it that route. And you're kind of right.
That's kind of like the Dark Knight Returns Batman.
Right, from Frank Miller. And that makes sense. And they say that this Batman has been Batman for 20-ish years. And they say it they give a hard date line in Justice League. Like he says it's been 20 years that he's been doing this. And you obviously know that there's been a Robin who's died. I still think that they were planning on making the Joker be Jason Todd, and then everybody figured it out early, and Warner Brothers was like, no, that's not what we're doing. But like there's some great ideas in there. Like I like the idea of a Batman who's lost some of his allies. They say Nightwing exists in this world. We know we're getting a Nightwing, so he's made the mistake of having a Robin at least twice in this franchise.
Yep.
So there's a lot of stuff that has been set up that could be great. They're just not delivering it, and it's just, I don't even think Batman has to be fun. Like if you look at the Christopher Nolan movies, I wouldn't necessarily say he's a fun Batman. Like those movies
all.
have an emotional
Oh,
toll.
no,
Like
yeah.
like the Dark Knight with the Joker and Heath Ledger. Like we all know how amazing that performance was.
Yeah.
That movie really skirts that line of being PG-13R. Like there's nothing
hard.
graphic really in it, but it's so disturbing. Like if that was rated R, I would understand. If it was rated PG-13, I also get it. But like that movie, the first time I saw it, I left the theater disturbed and changed.
Well, I think that, I mean, the Nolan Batman does a really good job of showing you, like, there's no, joy in being Batman for that Batman. Like, it's brutal, and it takes a physical toll, it takes a mental toll. Like,
It's like a curse.
there's a price to be paid for doing that. Yeah. And it's like, that goes into, like, what the hero of the city needs or deserves or whatever, like, it explores that pretty well. Whereas, in, I would say, like the Schumacher ones especially, it's like, like some Batman, like some portrayals of Batman, they're fun. Like they like being Batman. They like wearing all the get up and using all the gadgets and punching up the bad guys, right?
Right.
So I don't know, I guess, where the Ben Affleck Batman fits on that spectrum, and that's what I don't like about it.
Yeah, the other problem that I have with this, and this is not a spoiler because you see it in the trailers for Justice League. This Batman does not... I don't understand how people don't know that Bruce Wayne is Batman in this universe because, one, like I said, he goes into Lex Luthor's house and steals stuff, and Lex Luthor somehow already knew that Bruce Wayne was Batman. Like that's
really
the whole
obvious.
thing of Justice League, or Batman vs. Superman. Like, he sets up this whole thing. But in Justice League, he's going and assembling the team. So there's the scene in the trailer where he's like sitting in Barry Allen's second favorite chair, and he like throws the batarang and goes all in slow motion. He's going as Bruce Wayne throwing a batarang. Like, he doesn't know this guy. How do you know you can trust him just because he's got superpowers? And you're gonna say, "Hey, I'm Batman. Like, join me, brah." And then he goes to Aquaman in the bar with dozens of people. And it's like, "I'm Bruce Wayne. I'm putting together a team." Like, clearly he's Batman. What are you doing?
What type of team? Just don't worry about what I just said.
Just a rich people team.
Yeah, wouldn't he
Just
also
a
be
rich
like,
people team.
Bruce Wayne is super recognizable.
Yeah.
Everyone in the
Oh, yeah,
world
totally.
knows who he is.
And that's my point. Like, and if he was smart about it, he could have been like, "Hey, I'm like," if he wants to almost pull like the Iron Man thing from classic comic books, like, "I'm the benefactor of Iron Man. I'm the money guy. I'm putting a team together because Superman's gone, and I want to like save the world. And Batman's gonna be the leader. Do you want to work with Batman? Like, I'm gonna hook you guys up." That would make a little bit of sense. Like, it would be, in real life, it wouldn't be plausible, but in, comic book movie, I'm willing to suspend my disbelief a little bit.
Yeah.
But they didn't even attempt to do that. Like, everybody would know.
He went from being a dark Batman in the Batman versus Superman, because how they portrayed him in the films was like he's like really hurting people. He's like almost killing people.
Just
He's
an
a dark
angry Batman, yeah.
To this
He doesn't
not really
almost
a
kill
detective
people.
Batman, that doesn't even know how to hide his identity, type of thing. So you kind of get confused, like who? Look, Bruce, we know who you are. No, you don't. We do. No, you don't.
No,
No,
you don't.
Bruce, we do.
It's almost like the
Impossible. It's impossible to tell my identity. I'm the greatest detective. Wait, that's not too much.
That's not a cape hanging behind me underneath my suit.
It doesn't make any sense. Like, I've got a voice modulator. There's no way you know who I am.
I know
No.
exactly.
Well, I'm glad you actually brought up the detective thing, because that's something to me has always been important to what Batman is. He's the world's greatest detective.
Right.
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
I think there's only 2 portrayals on screen that kind of hit that a little bit. So, of course, I think the Christian Bale one is the most detective-style Batman we had with his
Oh, yeah.
little
Yeah.
bullet putting together machine.
Well,
And
yeah.
of shooting
I mean,
it
he had a
into
all
line
kinds
when
of
he
cool stuff
get
that-
to that crime scene. Like, I need 10 minutes with the scene before your guys are contaminated.
Yeah.
Exactly, and then using the radiated bills to track the
Yeah.
bad guys. And he actually had plans and was figuring out how to do these things. Of course, he had his little
Well,
Big Brother
The
surveillance
other thing,
thing
too,
with
though,
phones.
is that Batman is partnered with Okay. What makes it? I would say the Christian Bale and the most like a detective is he's also really partnered up with Commissioner Gordon.
Yeah.
And he's trying to get people in the DA's office. Like this Batman is not really setting out to just murder everyone. Like he wants to find out who is doing crime, collect evidence, and then have them prosecuted or whatever. Like he wants to believe in the system to an extent. It's not. It's not like this Punisher without guns, like it's Batman. That's what Batman does.
Well, that's
and I
another
think
thing
a lot
that
of them
actually,
miss that mark.
like, I really appreciate about the Nolanverse is when you look, like, in real life, if there was just superheroes and vigilantes, none of these people would actually go to jail because there's no due process. There's Batman's not going to court and testifying like, hey, I totally saw him do it, and I did a citizen's arrest. I filled out the paperwork for it.
The people's next witness is Batman.
Right.
He's waiting in the seat with the criminal.
Right. It wouldn't hold up. So in this one, you're right. Like, he kind of sets it up so that way the police are the ones who get the credit for it, and once they come in with the hero they need versus the hero
they
deserve,
have
or
to
whatever it
be.
is.
Like, that's the whole deal. Like, sure, he's obtaining the evidence through less than legal means, but he's still attempting to go through the proper channels.
Technically, but not technically.
But so that brings a level of realism. That's one of those things where, people kind of say, oh, not everything needs to be the Nolan gritty, grounded thing, which is true. But what I like about these movies is all three movies, when I came out of the theater, I was like, man, Batman could totally exist in real life. Because there was that realism, like, the grappling hook, obviously, we're not at a point where we've got little motors that small, but you would imagine if you had a billionaire, you can get to there. And
R&D, millions of dollars.
Yeah, like it would cost millions, billions of dollars, but you know what? I think it could happen until you really start thinking about it, like that steam, like that machine in the first one that just evaporates water. Like, we're 70% water. Why would it not evaporate us, but blow up pipes? Like,
Sure.
Those movies on first viewing, you're like, oh yeah, it totally makes sense. It totally works. And then you realize, there's some flaws, but they make you
I
feel
at least
like
appreciate
Batman.
the effort that's put
Right.
into making it believable. Like at least it's addressed. Like sure, maybe technically it's incorrect, but at least they
put the
attempted. Within the logic of the movie, I can get on board. I think the other thing too is like in the Nolan one, like all of the gadgets are kind of anchored. Like the whole skyhook deal when they're like trying to like pull him out of the building when he goes to China to grab that one fool. Like, okay, I mean it's crazy. It's a crazy thing to do.
There was some truth
but...
to him, yeah.
Yeah.
There was some kind of logic
got...
that made you believe it. Yeah.
Yeah. Like if anybody could do it, it would be Batman.
Yeah, and then you got like the Kate, like they've got the why can't I think of his first name? Fox. Lucius Fox.
Yeah.
Who's like helping develop the technology, and they always do a little bit of an explanation, like the grapple hook is like a gas propelled thing, and then it's got the motor.
And like it's not just Batman doing it all by himself, which makes it more believable too, right? Like, cool, Batman is a scientist, and Batman's super smart and super tough and all this, but like, he's also subcontracted out a lot of the being Batman. And then they give you like that little nugget where like they're ordering like parts from all over the world, and they'll order like, oh well, if we order like one of them, it'll be suspicious. So we ordered like 1,000 of these little
and we had to put it together
things.
for the helmet. Yeah, they had to order the ears and the helmet separately and put them together, or it would look super sketchy. Like, yeah, it makes sense. Like, you'd have to cover your tracks.
There's a whole like business behind being Batman in those movies that I think is really cool and interesting.
We should buy his stock.
I would totally invest
Win
heavily
Enterprise.
in Batman.
Well, maybe not, because he is technically embezzling. So
From his own company.
It's still embezzling.
He owns it all. He's just moving the money around, dude. Why do you got to shit on it?
We
gotta shut this guy up. We gotta get Lucius on this guy.
Yeah, we should buy it through Lucius.
Didn't they do that to a guy in the
you go.
movie? Like they got that guy found out that they were moving money around, so they fired him.
Right. I kind of want to talk about just like a high level overview of the Val Kilmer and George Clooney one. I
Great
definitely think that Val Kilmer is the most forgettable Batman.
Oh, definitely.
He's a little boring. Like I that was the kind of my Batman. Those two movies were like my Batman movies as a kid. Like I saw both of those in theaters. I think they came out when I was 8 and 10 respectively. So those were a big part of my childhood. I had all the action figures for those two. So those were really big to me. And like watching those movies, we're actually going to cover them on Ruin My Childhood. There was a nostalgia factor, but there were certain things like the Val Kilmer Batman, probably besides Ben Affleck, used more gadgets than I'd say Keaton or George Clooney while fighting. And he actually had a detective a little bit too, and I think he was probably the smartest Bruce Wayne out of the original 3, in that he, when fighting the Riddler, solving riddles, but he also knows a lot about technology. So the Riddler, before he's the Riddler's like trying to build this like brain wave box, and Bruce Wayne knows all about the technology about it, and he's like, yeah, dude, that's like super sketchy because you'd have to use a neural inhibitor, blah 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 blah, and throws out all these like crazy words. So that was something that I actually appreciated in the Val Kilmer one, is that they did try to say, like, show that he does belong in an industrial company.
Yeah.
So I do want to kind of give out that.
But I feel like the Nolan Bruce Wayne would have just been like, shut up, nerd, and then had somebody else go research all that stuff.
Yeah. I don't know who you are.
We should figure this out.
And that is one issue that I had with the Nolan Batman, is Batman's supposed to have, like, various degrees. Like, he's supposed to be an expert chemist, he's supposed to be an expert engineer. Like, in a pinch, he can design, not like, even though he has Fox designing stuff, he can repair and put back together and make changes to any technology he has.
Yeah.
And I don't see Christian Bale being able to do, well, not
well,
Christian
I think
Bale. Obviously he can't
like,
do it, but Christian
as
Bale,
Batman,
Bruce
like
Wayne.
I think just the Bruce Wayne that he's putting out there is a dummy, I think like when he's in like the Batcave and in that little underground bunker and stuff, like he's like making stuff and doing stuff.
Yeah,
he's more of
he's
the
like
engineer
using
side.
the grinder to make batarangs, which is the easiest thing you can do.
No, but he
Well,
was
I
like,
mean,
he had
Alfred
the
also
computers,
said
like,
he
running
made
on
that,
like the bullet putter back together machine.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He was like the
Back together.
engineer Batman.
Yeah. But the other
He's just
thing
not
that
flashing
movie,
it in front of everybody.
yeah, the other thing that movie does really well, that's the only movie or franchise that we know his origin, like the League of Shadows, like, and stuff like that. Like, if you look at the Michael Keaton Batman, I watched that, he gets shot a lot.
Oh yeah.
His tactics are terrible. He literally drops down behind people, stays there for like
open.
20 seconds before they realize he's there. It's almost like if he went to get them to look, and then he gets shot, and then like they're like, all right, he's dead, and then he pops back up and punches them.
Yeah.
Like, it's
I didn't get the
weird.
wings thing. He just kept opening his wings.
Yeah.
But if you're
that and
you remember his special weapon in those films was just his looks. Like every time something was getting ready to happen or something happened, they would just do a close up on Michael Keaton's face as Batman. So that was his special weapon. It wasn't his utility belt. It was the face of Batman. So
also in those movies, I don't even think he uses batarangs. He uses a smoke pellet once, and for the most part, it's just his grappling hook. And it's like super slow to use his grappling hook. Like, he literally, there's a scene where he's in the museum with the Joker, and he like has to take out this long thing. He has to assemble it, and then he like shoots it, and then it's like a zip line instead of a
I think
grappling hook.
he has two different grappling
Yeah,
guns.
so he's got like a zip line one and then like a normal one, but still it takes forever to use.
But if you listen real close, you hear him say parkour.
And then when you go to the Val Kilmer one uses batarangs in the middle of combat, and he has this like EMP stun gun thing, and then he uses the grappling hooks like in between stuff. So I'd say he used some stuff pretty well. George Clooney's Batman was almost like Adam West in that they had a utility belt that had everything. Like, it had ice skates in his boots, not knowing that he was going to need it. He had like a buzz saw.
Well, wasn't he dealing with Mr. Freeze?
Yeah, but he didn't know about it ahead of time. Like, the first time he encountered him, he had ice skates already in his boots.
He was ready.
Yeah. And then he also has like a buzzsaw thing that he pulls out randomly. Like, that one, like the George Clooney one, went back to almost like the Adam West, just like shark repellent kind of stuff.
Adam West.
He paid extra for the Pro Batman suit, so that's why everything already came
The
installed, pre-installed. Yeah.
Yeah.
Go gadget batsuit.
Yeah. That's awesome.
I mean, that one had a Robin though. We didn't even discuss that. Like that's the other one that had Robin, and I don't think Robin's done well. Like, I want to see Robin / Nightwing done well in a movie, which we haven't seen yet.
He's only done well in animated movies. I
The
think.
problem with the Robin in those movies is
He's
like
super old.
he's like 30. Yeah. Why does he need to be adopted?
Well, actually, he's supposed to be a minor in Batman Forever.
It's
So, I
supposed to
thought the
be
same
fine,
thing,
but does
but
not
he's
appear
25.
to be at all.
Yeah, he
He
was
just-
25 when that movie came out. Chris O'Donnell.
Yeah.
Did
Did he just get his
but yeah,
mastered?
yeah, right.
He's a grown man.
Grown ass man.
You adopt a grown man. That looks a little. So,
And like you understand, like when he's super, like he's reluctant to be adopted. I feel like all he needed to say was, "Dude, I'm a grown man. I don't need you to be my father." Thank you. I'm glad you're
know
sad
how
that
old
my
I
parents
am,
got
right?
killed. Like, you're being real weird, dude.
right? Yeah, they should have.
I don't
Well,
like
that's-
you like that.
That's
the thing
exactly
that's
what
gonna
he
be.
said. He said, this is awkward, and I know you're Batman, by the way.
Right?
I mean, that's cool. Like we can hang out and fight crime together, but I don't want to live with you.
Oh
It's a
man.
requirement.
Jesus. The thing that's we know a Nightwing movie is coming out. Like they've already announced it. But all the people, like, if you look at like blogs and stuff like I do, like everyone that they want fan casted as Nightwing is like 5 years younger than Ben Affleck, and that's one of the things. Like, I don't know. I think if you're gonna do a Robin, I think you just need to embrace and acknowledge that it's a little weird, but you got to cast someone who's like 14, 15 years old, or at least looks that age, because that's the whole
like
point.
they did for Spider-Man.
Yeah, exactly. Like, get someone like Tom. Now, don't take Tom Holland. Don't say.
No,
I'm not saying
I
he
said
should be
like.
Robin,
Like,
but somebody like him. I agree. Double E. That was an amazing point. You're so smart and beautiful.
I try.
You know what my concern is? That I feel that it has to be rated R. I think DC has to just take it a different route and make Nightwing rated R, because it's like Batman is very confusing right now how they're doing Batman, and if you think about it, there's really, I don't know, this is just to me my personal opinion, there's no real route for them to take Batman and make him iconic again right now.
Yeah, I think they messed up in doing Batman versus Superman. They should have done a standalone Batman first.
They chose the most difficult storylines and mashed them together. The death of Superman. Like, what are you doing?
Right.
It's like I don't want to watch this. I want to see Justice League not with Superman dying, because that's not what I want to see.
I
And
will say, just sorry to interrupt you, the way they handle the return of Superman in Justice League, and that's not a spoiler, he's billed on all the posters, everybody knows he's coming back. The way they handled the return of Superman, one part of it was a little gimmicky and kind of like whatever, like there's a MacGuffin, but the way they handle him actually coming back was done really, really well, actually, in Justice League. I will give that props to it.
you just spoiled.
No,
What?
there's
Superman
no
just didn't
spoiler.
spoil.
Everybody knows he's coming back.
Nah, dude, I thought it was Supergirl. I don't know what you're talking about.
This is what I
mean-
hope for Nightwing. I hope it's rated R, and just because I'm a super fan of his acting, I hope Dylan O'Brien is
You
is
and Dylan
Nightwing.
O'Brien, dude.
Yes, I do. Because, dude, I've been watching Dylan O'Brien since he was on Teen Wolf. Yes, you can mock me, but I watched him. He was fun. He was like, to me, he was like a, I just forgot his name. Eagle Eye. What's his name?
Shia LaBeouf.
Shia LaBeouf. Yeah, he was like Shia LaBeouf when he was first started out. It was really an incredible actor, and that's what he's been doing. In American Assassins, he was incredible for it. I was like, dude, he should be Nightwing. All right, that's my rant about Dylan O'Brien.
Anytime I see him, I just think of like the slightly darker version of Logan Lerman from Three Musketeers, which we covered, which was awful. I think they do need to go a little older for Nightwing, like at this point, because Batman's supposed to have been Batman for 20 years.
Yeah.
I'd say he was probably Batman for 5 to 10 years before he got Robin. So I'm thinking, Nightwing should be 25 to maybe 30 years old if Batman's supposed to be pushing 50. So I'm thinking somebody a little bit older, like, I don't know. I don't really care about Nightwing that much. I mean, I think Nightwing's an awesome character. I just don't care about the DC movies at this point. I just don't think there's any going back and saving them. Like, the tone is
No,
drastically
there's
different
not.
with, like, Wonder Woman being... Wonder Woman was a really fun movie. I think it was flawed the last 20 minutes of the movie, but it was fun, and it was like, that's what the movie should have been this whole time.
Enjoyable.
It's just
Enjoyable.
been
Yeah.
sad. It's been sad. You're like, no, why you ruin them?
Why are you not enjoyable?
Right.
You got damage.
The Flash, what you see in the trailers for Justice League is what he is the entire movie. I would
Great.
not want to watch 2 hours of Ezra Miller as the Flash, and I like Ezra Miller in a lot of other stuff. I think he's good in The Perks of Being a Wallflower. I think he was fine in the Harry Potter movie that he was in. And there's something else I've seen him in that he's solid in. but I would not want to see that Barry Allen for 2 hours. Just throwing that out there.
Yeah, it's kind of like Friends, and then you have a show of just Joey. I was like, nah, you kind of can't have all that.
Well, they did that, and it did not work.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's exactly my point. I was like, no. There's a reason why Friends work, because you took a break from the characters and you went to another one. But a whole show of Joey just doesn't work out.
A whole show of any of the characters would have been awful.
Yeah.
Ross was like, realistically in Friends, all those characters are terrible people, but they work together. Like Ross is an
what
asshole.
end? What do they work together to do? Nothing. Those characters don't do anything.
Right.
Maybe
live life.
Yeah, maybe
they get through
should
it.
just
I mean,
put
they
in,
certainly don't come together to stop some cosmic bad guy.
Yeah.
No, they don't. No, not at all.
So let me ask you something. Since you saw Justice League, did you see the Easter egg on Green Lantern?
I mean, it's not really an Easter egg. It's like in the first 5 minutes, and it's very obvious.
Is
but
it?
yeah.
Okay. They mention it in the trailer as well.
Yeah, they do mention
They
They
do?
say there's no lantern. Yeah, in the trailer,
there's no
Steppenwolf's like,
lantern.
no
Blah, blah, blah.
lanterns, no Kryptonians. I'm gonna fuck this place up. But yeah, no, it's very obvious. You see him, like you see a lantern in the first 3 or 4 minutes of the movie.
Well,
Even in
like,
Batman vs Superman, he was like, "Oh, Emerald City."
So the deal in that movie is like, because Superman's not there, some force is going to come destroy the Earth, right?
Yep, I think I know where you're going.
Why didn't he come before Superman got there?
Right?
It wasn't on the radar.
It was things
There's no
on the
powerful being.
time schedule. I mean, they were
He had other
shopping
worlds
do.
to tear up, I guess. I don't
Maybe they've got like a weird person detecting thing, like life form, and they knew he was there. And maybe because
But he wasn't, like, how ancient is this evil? Like, he's only been there since, like, 30 years, maybe? I don't know, 35, 40 years, however old Superman is.
Well, maybe it's also because, because Wonder Woman killed.
Wonder Woman doesn't matter. She's there.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like Wonder Woman.
Wonder Woman was 100
Wonder
years
Woman
ago.
was a god and everything, so maybe they were concerned, but they don't. He doesn't seem to care that Wonder Woman's there. You're right. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Dustin, stop
He
trying
was
to.
waiting for Ben Affleck to become Batman because he knew he wasn't a true detective.
I don't get it.
Yeah. So then he's like, "All right, I'll go now because he ain't gonna do much."
He's old.
Yeah, he's a drunk
fucking
Batman.
50.
What is he gonna do?
I do
He's just an old dumb Batman. I don't
want to
care about
give.
him.
Like, I don't want to
Stupid
just be bashing the DCU. It's really easy to do. Like Suicide Squad, that was a god awful piece of shit. But
Ryan
Terrible.
Reynolds, Green Lantern.
Green Lantern isn't part of this.
Terrible.
It's different.
I'm just saying,
But
it's easy to
the
do.
Batman, as much as like a lot of people were like upset, like Batman's not supposed to kill. The only on-screen version of Batman we have that doesn't kill is Christian Bale's Batman. And even that, he's kind of like,
Right.
I don't have to save you, which is the same as really letting someone die and killing them. And he also blew up that ninja dojo. So he definitely killed some people. But he was...
Ninjas don't count, dude.
Ninjas don't count. Well, at least he felt bad about it. But a lot of people were like mad that Ben Affleck Batman killed people. Michael Keaton's Batman killed people. He shoots people down in that balloon thing. He throws people down the stairwell. Val Kilmer threw somebody down an elevator shaft. Like, Batman kills people in the movies. Like, let's just accept it. In the comic books,
I mean,
it
he
fluctuates.
hurts them really, really bad. Like, they're gonna need machines to like poop and stuff.
Well, the Dark Knight that Ben Affleck was, when this all started out, supposed to portray, he was a dark Batman from the comics, and that's what the whole conversation. But now it's just like we talked about earlier. It's like now with the films that Justice League, it's like I'm just confused. Which Batman is he?
Well, yeah.
Is he just a
It's
stuffed animal?
It's
or what?
inconsistent, but I do want to just point out the combat, at least in that warehouse scene, is probably the best Batman fight scene in cinematic and TV history. Like, it's just like the animated shows, like the more darker ones that come out on DVD. It seems like that could have been something out of the amazing Arkham Knight, not Arkham Knight. Arkham Knight was but like the Arkham video games, and something out of a comic book. Like, watching that warehouse scene, even though he was killing people, I was like, shit, that's totally Batman. He's using batarangs in the middle of combat. He's using the grappling hook to throw people around. You know, I thought that was amazing.
Yeah, I mean, you get a taste of that at the beginning of The Dark Knight when they're in that parking structure, and like that one guy's pretending to be Batman, and then the real Batman shows up and has to like clean up all that mess.
Right.
But that one's like a lot more. I guess it strays from like the comics because it's more realistic. Like again, it sucks to be Batman.
Yeah.
Like he gets like hit by a van, and like he gets attacked
Bitten
by
by a
dogs.
dog,
Like he's fighting a bunch of crap, and then like it makes a lot more sense when he gets back in the car and he's pissed at the other guy for coming out here trying to impersonate Batman.
Right.
You know,
Well, the thing
like it's
Batman
rough
from
work.
Christian Bale, like if you look at it, as much as those movies are cool, like the combat thing, like at the time seemed cool, but it's really just him throwing elbows, like a really impractical way of fighting. It's just like he's almost got his hands on his ears, and he's just like pivoting with elbows over and over and over again.
Well, he couldn't turn his neck, man.
And that's
Yeah.
something that actually really bothered me because in the first movie, they make a point like this suit that he has is like bulletproof and will stop a knife, and then he gets bitten by a dog on the arm, and he's like, I need a whole new dog-proof costume that'll allow me to move faster because the reason I got bit was because I couldn't move faster. So then they give him a suit that's way more vulnerable. So and then like,
we didn't test this against squirrels.
But I mean,
But he-
looks way.
but he
cooler.
gets stabbed
Yeah.
in like Batman or the Dark Knight Rises. He gets stabbed. It's
Yeah.
like he made himself vulnerable to knives because he got bitten by a dog once on the arm.
Well, and because he couldn't move.
Which is you could have just
Couldn't
changed
turn
the
his head?
helmet part.
Yeah, I don't know. I think having like the change to a more agile suit was like him becoming a little more confident in his abilities to be Batman.
That's true. That makes sense.
And maybe biting off a little more than he could chew and not really fully realizing what he was getting into, you know? Like that movie, he's going down a dark hole,
Yeah.
dude. Like, I mean, he's getting way into like, he's just becoming, you know, that whole like Bruce Wayne being the Mask, like he's becoming Batman a lot more.
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
spends a lot
Yeah.
of time being Batman. Like he spends a lot of time in the suit. Like it's his life is changing quite a bit. And he knows he's the only one who can deal with the Joker.
Right.
And he knows the Joker is just there to fuck up his
Just
life.
fuck shit
You
up.
know, like and not caring about like anyone who lives in Gotham City. Like he'll kill everyone in Gotham City just to mess with Batman.
Right.
The thing
And
is,
that
too, is
I
like,
think is
even
awesome.
with his suit, it's like, you know, a lot of these times you could have just stayed in the tank that way. Just saying,
You know,
the
honestly,
suit's not working out.
Or
that
just
tank
remote controlled the
drove me
tank.
crazy. It looks like the most uncomfortable thing to be in. Like how if he wants to use the weapons, he's got to like slowly. Like what if like a car comes out of nowhere that he needs to blow up? He has to wait like the 20 seconds for the seat to go back,
To shift,
pivot down, and then he slide forward, and he's got to be like laying down on his stomach to use the weapons. That doesn't make any sense at all.
Previously on Batman.
Come on, Lucius, what are you doing, man?
Yeah. But it does turn into a motorcycle.
It does turn into a motorcycle,
does.
which
It
is
does.
pretty cool. That motorcycle, like they actually built, and it's like a technical marvel for how it works because it doesn't have
Yeah.
like the way the engine works. It's really cool.
Yeah,
That's
but like,
sick.
I mean, I don't know. I still appreciated that tank. Like, it was a. I mean, the Batmobiles we could talk about every
I
Batmobile in these
definitely
movies
want to
too.
talk
They all
about
have
that.
their own personality, you know. Like the 1989 one when I was little, I remember that was the coolest
I love
Batmobile
that.
I'd ever seen.
Batmobile.
Yeah.
So
It had,
I had
like,
that as a
The
toy.
cocoon thing that could come out, like the armored it up and stuff, the grenades on the wheels, like that was an awesome one. But I did think again, if we're anchoring it in reality, like that tank is an urban assault vehicle. You know,
Yeah.
like the chase across the city is amazing.
It is. He's
Yeah.
flying on a rooftop.
Yeah, it's really scary. And, like the other thing that you got to think about too is like, you know, like high speed chases in reality are super dangerous.
Yeah.
You know, like it's really dangerous to be a person living adjacent to one of these, and this one looks even more terrifying.
So the thing that I like about the Batmobile, so the Tim Burton one was super long, and we never seen anything like that. It was cool. And then when Joel Schumacher took over, like the Batman Forever one, so I actually had like a making of book for Batman Forever and Batman and Robin, and I
Yeah.
remember them like, this one's 10 feet longer than the Tim Burton one, kind of thing, like making it just longer and more impractical,
Yeah.
and then like lighting up. But the Val Kilmer one still looked pretty cool. It was still self-contained. I
Yeah.
forgot that the George Clooney one has an open cockpit. Like he's
Yeah.
literally
Yeah.
just sitting in it
So
exposed.
does the Adam West one.
And so does the Adam
Totally
West one.
Adam West.
But the Adam West one has a windshield, a little windshield, but there's a windshield.
Yeah, it has like a
George
bubble,
Clooney does
like
not have a
bubble thing.
windshield. He's just
It has
sitting.
two
Hilarious.
bubbles for windshields for the driver and the
Yeah,
passenger.
the George Clooney's does
basically,
not.
yeah, basically nobody could have said that they cannot stop Batman. Just shoot him. He's in his car.
Yeah, it would be super easy.
But it goes real fast.
Or do a clothesline. Just put a wire across the street.
Just
It's
put a-
decapitated.
Done.
And done.
Easy.
film.
No, because then like a little blade pops up out of the front and cuts the wire.
If you could
dummy.
see it,
Dummy.
He
The
was
cargo
prepped for
detector.
the
everything.
cargo
Wires.
detector
Cars.
thin wire.
AI.
But I
He
do
was
think
prepped for everything.
the Ben Affleck Batmobile kind of bridges the gap between the comic booky and the Tim Burton ones with the Tumbler. Like I do think the Ben Affleck one was probably the best balance of all the Batmobiles. Like it was tanky and an urban assault vehicle, but it also seemed like
had
it
guns
can
in
go like 1,000,000 miles per hour and just fucking haul ass.
Man.
Yeah.
And just destroy buildings and boats.
Yeah.
You remember the second Batman when it goes like into the to the alleyway
And then it goes up?
splits from being, well, it goes from being like a 4-wheeled vehicle and it turns
Yeah.
into a 2-wheeled vehicle and it just goes right through this thin alleyway.
Oh yeah,
I
it
don't
flips
know
it
where
up,
you
it
find
banks it.
Thin alleyways, but
Well-
yeah, and it scoots off. Yeah,
Val Kilmer's
awesome.
one goes up a
It
side
was
of a
awesome.
wall.
I agree.
yeah.
Like he angles it
Exactly.
up, and then he shoots like
Yeah,
a grapple hook
it
up to the
blasts
top of
off.
the roof, and then it pulls him up when he's getting because Two-Face is about to shoot an RPG at him.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. These are the features I want on my next car.
Well, these cars can't turn. In both sets of movies, they have to shoot a grapple hook out at a pole to actually be able to turn because these cars are too long
Yeah.
and not maneuverable.
But they look dope.
That's
But they did test that on
Super,
Mythbusters.
yeah.
That totally wouldn't work, by the way.
Well, no, probably just like
and pulls down.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened. Or it would just yank off the end of the
Yeah.
car. When they
Or you
cemented
just
it
miss
down.
and hit a person or something. I don't know.
It just
bystander.
goes through like a coffee shop and just kills a bunch of people.
just no. It would like grapple him. It would just drag him out of the
Grappling
coffee
hook didn't
shop
work
and
out.
drag him down the street.
Yeah. Oh man.
Why am I not turning?
Why is this guy hooked up to my car?
And then he just hits a brick wall. Batmobile explodes. He's
I
dead.
caught him.
And
Yeah.
Finn.
Yeah, and the other thing too, I
Finn.
guess, is the villains in a Batman movie are important, right? All of these movies feature different Batman villains and different, I would say, varying degrees of performance from all of them.
I gotta
Jack
say, the
Nicholson's
ice
Joker's
puns-
awesome. Also, that movie
Oh, he's
has one of
great.
my favorite
It is.
villains of all time, Bob the Goon.
Bob the Goon.
Bob the Goon. I love Bob the Goon.
So just so people know, so Dustin, Double D, and I worked together for quite a while. But there was a point where like Dustin was actually my manager, and I was his Bob the Goon. We always joked around like I was just the guy who was there for him, was going to do what it took.
Because you are my number one. God.
Never discussing the fact that Bob the Goon dies by the Joker's hand.
Yeah, because he
So
asks him for
I'm
a
sure
gun,
one
and
day-
then he shoots him with it.
Yeah, I'm sure Dustin's gonna kill me one day
Bob
because I'm his
Gun.
Bob the Goon.
Blam. Bob the Goon. They also
No,
had
that
sweet
Joker was-
jackets, dude. Those Joker Gang jackets in that movie were
Yeah.
awesome.
Oh, those were cool. They had
Yeah.
the comic book
How
Joker.
did they have time
And
to
on
get
the
those made up?
helicopter. I don't know, man.
Well, my question for that was, where did he get all these gadgets that are automatically
Oh, like the black and
clownish?
glove
Well,
thing.
They touch on that. They say that
The
he was
Joker is prepared.
well, they say that he was a brilliant chemist. Like he was top in his class in biochemistry and engineering
And art.
and
and art. Yeah. So that Joker was the definitive Joker. Like when they said they were going to do Joker in the Nolanverse, they're like, "There's no way anyone's going to top that." And I think they're both very good Jokers. Like obviously, as a society, we've kind of agreed that the Heath Ledger one is the definitive Joker at this point. But I don't think it makes Jack Nicholson's any worse.
No.
Like
no,
I still think
not at
that
all.
is an amazing performance and an amazing villain.
I mean,
Yeah,
he's
I
just
agree
going
with that.
around like
I mean,
melting
it-
people's faces because it's fun with that acid,
Fun.
like his girlfriend
the
or
acid
whatever.
and the
Like he just
flour.
like melted half of her face. He like tries to do
He
it
tried to
Vicky
melt Kim
Vale.
Basinger. Yeah.
Yeah. And another character that did really well that I remember all the time is Danny DeVito.
Yeah.
Copperhead.
Yeah, he was a
Well,
great.
yes
penguin.
and no.
the penguin.
He was a great villain for the Tim Burton verse, but that's not what Cobblepot's like at all.
I think he
Like,
looks
Cobblepot-
amazing though, and is gross and
Yeah,
terrifying.
he casted
It looked
that.
gross and everything, but
great.
that's not what the penguin. The penguin's not supposed to be
I get
gross
it.
and stuff. Like it was a fun villain, but yeah, it's
It doesn't
Yeah.
make it bad though.
no, it was
Yeah, no,
good.
but he
Catwoman
did
was
an
good too.
incredible job. Oh, yes. Yes, she did.
Michelle Pfeiffer was great as Catwoman.
Amazing.
That was
Yes.
uh That whole Catwoman thing is actually really funny. There was a different actress, I cannot remember her name, who was supposed to be Vicky Vale in the 89 Batman, and there was going to be a scene where they go horseback riding. She fell off the horse and like broke her shoulder, so they had to recast Kim Basinger. Like they had to recast like after they started filming. So that's how Kim Basinger got the role. But this woman really wanted to be in the Batman movies. So she like went to Tim Burton's house or office dressed as Catwoman to try to get, like, you owe me this role because I got hurt doing her last movie. And she started like stalking Tim Burton because she wanted to be Catwoman. It was really weird. Just a little trivia for you guys.
That's hilarious.
Well, if you gave her name, it'd be the
Yeah,
trivia.
I don't remember her name and I don't care enough to look it up. I would
It's
even
trivia
know.
within the trivia right now.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
half-assed trivia by Mike.
Who else did we
Just a
get? We
research
got
project now.
Arnold Schwarzenegger as Mr. Freeze.
Those puns
Mr.
were amazing.
Freeze.
The suit was cool. It
Oh,
looked
so
really
good.
cool.
The suit was totally cool. It didn't make sense. It was powered by diamond lasers, and
Just
lasers would,
eat
I
up
would
the
think, would
diamonds,
heat
man.
things up.
Just eating up diamonds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also, he keeps saying it's a laser, and lasers are pure energy.
Made from
Wouldn't
diamonds.
that make heat made from diamonds?
Duh. God.
Duh, Michael.
Everybody knows that.
That was bad. Bane was terrible.
Terrible.
Like, that's not Bane. Not my hashtag. Not my Bane.
Which one?
My
The
babe.
Bane in
No.
Batman and
Yeah.
Robin. He just was
Okay,
like a
yeah.
Pokemon. It's Bane.
He just grunted.
Bane.
It's like
With the
Odor.
venom.
That's
Yeah,
all
he was dumb.
And even the
Odor from Game
Bane
of Thrones,
in the
Odor.
Nolan verse, well, like, I think he was awesome. Tom Hardy, like, is one of my favorite actors. I think he's great. Like, they took the Bane origin and gave it to Talia al Ghul. I wasn't cool with that. But Bane was still fucking yoked and awesome.
What? Who else we got?
Riddler and Two-Face sucked.
Oh, Jim Carrey's Riddler. You didn't like him?
No, watching it
I
does
did
not
as a
hold
child.
up. Like, it's kind of annoying and doesn't really make sense.
Yeah.
It was Jim Carrey.
Yeah. Two-Face...
You enjoy it because it's Jim Carrey. I think.
I like
Exactly.
Jim Carrey.
Well, that's why you enjoyed the Riddler because it was
as a
Jim
kid,
Carrey. I
yeah.
think-
As an adult, I didn't think it held up, and it's just sad that Billy D. Williams didn't get to be Two-Face because he was Harvey Dent in the first two
Yeah.
movies, and Billy D.
Yeah.
Williams was awesome.
He is.
I think the last thing we should talk about, because there's not really a Batman, we haven't really had a Batman villain for Ben Affleck yet, so we can't really discuss that. The suits. Everyone I love the Ben Affleck suit. Like, I don't necessarily like visually what it looks like. It's interesting. Like, I don't like all the weird textures. But what I liked about it is in that warehouse scene, he gets shot several times.
Yeah.
And like, while it looks like a fabric suit, like, I'm just gonna buy that a billionaire has a bulletproof suit. Like, they didn't have to go and explain that it's nanotechnology that blocks it. And like, he does get stabbed at one point, but he's able to take a couple bullet hits, no problem. Like, I really liked that aspect of it. They're just like, yeah, let's embrace the superhero aspect, and they're just like, we're just gonna say it's a bulletproof costume. It's fine. Like, we're not even gonna say it. We're just gonna show it.
Well, it was only a handgun as well. So I mean, the Batsuit is supposed to be resistant to small arms.
Exactly, and that's what I liked is showing. They just show it and they embrace it, like, because it is a fabric looking suit, and that's one of the things a lot of times in the comic books are like, it's a fabric suit and like he's got Kevlar underneath it, but they didn't explain it. They're just like Batman. They didn't dumb it down, which is something I appreciated. Like, a lot of movies, like, I'll use EMPs as an example. Anytime there's an EMP in a movie, they've got to explain what an EMP is and what it does. We all know what that is by that point. Like, they didn't feel like they needed to explain every aspect of his technology to us. So it didn't really dumb things down for the viewer. Like, I'll give them that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
He
it was
also,
pretty cool.
like, in the Batman versus Superman one, when he has, like, that armored bat suit to deal with Superman,
Mhm.
I feel like they missed a lot of stuff that was taken directly from The Dark Knight Returns, and they missed a lot of what made that really cool in The Dark Knight Returns. Like,
That he had to power, like,
well, first of all,
power
it
by
was the
city
fight was
grid.
supposed to go down in Crime Alley, where his parents were murdered. Is where he stages it
Right.
in the comics, and he's plugged into like a lamppost. So literally, Gotham City, the city that he's been spending the last 30 years to protect,
giving
is
him power,
powering
yeah.
his suit. The other thing is he's
Yeah.
unable to hear anything because he's got like that sonic blaster that he's going to hit Superman with. So like Superman comes and he's like giving him all his words, and like they're literally falling on deaf ears. Like, Batman is not there to reason with this alien. He's there to kill an alien. Is kind of the whole deal.
Right.
Yeah.
And they really took away a lot of that. And it's only when Superman like rips the helmet off to where it's Bruce Wayne's face that he can like hear what he's saying and actually converse. So I don't know, like a lot of the drama I guess got kind of sucked out of that scene, and then also it resolves with them discovering that their mothers have the same name, so they don't want to kill each other anymore. Like,
Martha.
it's just
Did we just become best friends?
Why did you say that name?
It's like that stepbrother scene.
So that was pretty terrible. I don't know, that part I didn't like very much.
I like the Michael Keaton batsuit just because it was so
It's
classical
awesome. It's
looking. It had
And
the
it had
black
Air
and the
Jordans
bright
for the
yellow.
shoes.
The yellow.
It had Air Jordans for the shoes. And they progressed the Christopher Nolan's batsuit, like it was an awesome progression of it.
I like that he had the
hard
same
to move.
suit for like one in Dark Knight. He got the upgraded suit, and it was the same suit in the Dark Knight Rises.
Yeah.
Like that was interesting.
Yeah, it was great how they showed the progression of the suit. Y'all like we talked about. You see Christian Bale working on the suit and buying stuff for the suit, and next film you see the suit look this way, and it got better. It got more. It was more technical. He had more motion to it, and it was just awesome. How
It made it easier to be Batman.
And,
you know, like
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah.
When you look at the other one, so just the Burton Schumacher verse, I do think out of those costumes, I think probably the best one is the one at the end of the Val Kilmer one, because at the beginning of Batman Forever, he's got a suit that's very similar to the Tim Burton one. It's like the chest piece is the same with the yellow logo.
yeah,
It's just got a slightly different cowl, but at the end it switches to the all black with a giant black bat on it.
yeah.
I think out of the
Yeah.
rubber Batmans, I think Val Kilmer's costume's probably the best one. And
Are you flashbacking when they show Val Kilmer's butt? with
Yeah.
the suit? Was it Val? Is that why
they
you
do
like
that one? Yeah, that's why I liked it.
Don't you get all? You get like butt, you get crotch, you get the nips.
Well,
Yeah.
no, you get butt in the first. So you
Yeah.
get butt from Val Kilmer, and you get butt from him, and when Robin puts on his costume, in the
Correct,
opening,
yeah.
like the opening scene in Batman and Robin, you just get like Mr. Freeze is coming, and then it shows them putting on. You see butt, crotch, chest, butt, crotch, nipples, butt, crotch. Like they do like 15 butt
exactly.
shots, and like in Batman and Robin. Seriously, there's several times where Batman gets like lifted off of something and he's like dangling, and it just like zooms in on his ass. Like there's like 6 ass shots in Batman and Robin. It's fucking weird. And then they did the same thing with Batgirl in that one.
Oh yeah,
It was weird.
Oh, God.
huh?
Those movies are
Well,
weird.
that won't happen with that definitely won't happen with Ben Affleck.
No. Oh,
It's a whole
man.
different Batman.
I feel
He's 50 years old. You don't want that.
no. Oh man. Anything else you guys want to talk about? Do you guys want to touch on?
I really like the bat plane in Batman vs Superman.
Yeah, that's fine. It's weird. It's almost like droney. It's got that weird
liked
thing,
it.
but no, it's interesting. I like it too. I'm always going to be partial to the Batman Forever Batwing because I had that toy and I loved it. And it converts into a boat because the wings get blown off
Yeah.
and then it turns into a little submarine boat
Yeah,
thing.
that was a cool one.
I
What
love
about
that.
the
I had that
penguins?
toy. I got that for my
the
7th
penguins
birthday.
duck.
His ducks.
That duck car thing was pretty sick.
Yeah. Well, then it's
Yeah,
also
that
a little
was
I
boat
also
too.
really liked all the penguins with rockets on them.
It was an
Yeah.
all-purpose vehicle.
Yeah. The penguin was cool. Like as much as like it doesn't fit the comic book at all, like it was
And
cool
it had all
for the
those
Burton
scary
universe.
clowns.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Christopher Walken's
I mean, it
in
was
that
a
movie.
dark That was a dark.
It really
Batman.
was, dude.
Batman Return was very dark.
Yeah.
It was brutal.
Yeah, I like at the end of that movie when he like rips off his mask, he literally rips the mask.
He's
Weird.
like eating raw fish right in front of you, slobbering everywhere.
Yeah.
I'm like, what?
Running for mayor.
Man,
Yeah,
He's
that was
got that weird like
yeah.
3-fingered hand.
Right. You will vote
Yeah.
for me. Yeah.
I'd vote for him.
It's crazy. Yeah, I just want to see.
Give this gross little bird troll a chance to clean up the city.
Bird
I gotta say,
troll.
I actually really like Poison Ivy, but maybe that's just because Uma Thurman was super hot in that movie.
Yeah.
She was super hot, and yeah.
Like I don't normally think Uma Thurman's that hot, but in Batman Forever, she was like super hot.
She was such a flower.
That movie had like a ton of like sexual innuendo in that movie. Like there's a scene where she's like the talks about how Batman should leave Robin and just like bang her like it was a little bit more eloquent than that.
Like he should stop banging Robin?
Yeah, well, but then it goes to like she goes over to Robin. She goes, but there's something to say about the youth. Like they've got endurance and stamina. She's like, you should come see me. My garden needs tending.
He's not even
like,
that young.
Crazy.
They're like the same
Right?
age.
Yeah, they really are.
30-year-old.
Oh man.
You know,
I mean,
yeah. My last thing was just gonna say that I think what's going on with the Justice League, Superman, this whole DC thing universe right now, it makes me feel like the Star Wars, Phantom Menace, those films that came out that a lot of people did not enjoy very well, but they stayed with it because it's something that you hope that it's gonna come out good in the end, and that's what I hope it's gonna happen in the DC universe, because I think the characters are there. The characters are there. Just the storylines that they're choosing is just not working out well for me.
You know, I agree. I think it's analogous to the band Weezer, where like when I was a child, when I was like 14, I thought they were so good, and like they had those first 2 albums, and they were just amazing albums that I really, really, really enjoyed, and I listened to them over and over and over. And then like they keep putting out records, and you're like, man, I really want to like this, and then it's just dog shit. Like it's just an affront to like. It doesn't cheapen what you used to like, but you know it's like, man, this is really probably going to be terrible, terrible dog shit, but I got to see it just on the off chance that I might enjoy it a little bit the way I did as a child. And then you go and you're just disappointed every time. Every fucking time. It just lets you down, and it finds new ways to upset you that you didn't even think were possible when you went to go see it.
Right now you're like, I know it costs millions of dollars to make this film, but I do not know if I want to use $15 to see this film right now.
The problem is,
or you shouldn't. I feel like I'm enabling it by spending my money to go see it.
Yeah. And that's the problem with someone like me who's into it, and of course like Thiago and your crew, like you guys are all in film and trying to, like you guys are in the industry, so you guys are going to be are a lot more forgiving than most people because you recognize it's a pain in the ass to make a movie. For me, because I'm just into the behind the scenes stuff, knowing that they essentially shot this movie 3 times, like they got 3 chances to do Justice League right, and they didn't. And that's what bothers me. It's like they just haven't put the work in, or they don't plan. Like everyone wants to be Marvel, but they don't want to put the work in like Marvel. Like Marvel didn't just get to Civil War and Avengers overnight. They put in 4 years of work before getting to Avengers. Before getting to Civil War, before getting to Infinity War, they're putting a decade's worth of work before getting to Thanos. Like they're putting in the work,
destroying DC,
and that's the problem that I have. And I'm not trying to be like a Marvel DC rivalry thing, trying to put that out there. It's just do the work.
They're just doing so much better.
That's the problem, but nobody wants to do the work.
Yeah, that's exactly. I think they need to get rid. I'm sorry to say that. I love you, Zack Snyder, but I think you need to go. You need to stay. Yeah, I think Marvel. It's not like a versus thing, but Marvel just has their storytelling correct. They are doing it right, and DC's still having so much issue with it. And like I said, I hope they get it right because I love the characters. I love Superman. I love Batman. I love the story Woman. I love the Flash, and I hope they get it right. I will at some point. I don't know if it's going to cost me $15 or a $4.99 rental. We'll watch the films, but I'm gonna watch them because I love the characters are so iconic and I love them. So
yeah.
I went and saw it specifically. I have Movie Pass, that thing that's like $9.99 a month, and you can see a movie every day. So I've seen a lot of movies the last month because like I can't. It doesn't cost me anything extra to go see it. So that's the big reason why I went and saw it. Like I honestly considered skipping Justice League, but I had the Movie Pass, so it wasn't gonna cost me anything to go see it. And then doing this podcast, I was like, I think maybe one of us should go see it, and I'll take one for the team. I'll bite that bullet. And I did. And
thank you.
I'm grateful.
It added
Michael.
nothing to this podcast.
I'm so glad you did that.
We owe you
God
one.
damn it.
No, you don't. It's fine.
No, that was your choice. You're an adult.
Exactly. I made that choice.
Did you guys hear the rumors that they're gonna try to get Jake Gyllenhaal for the Batman after?
Well,
Affleck?
that's the rumors, because Ben Affleck just is so wishy-washy. He's just like, I'm in it. I'm gonna do Batman until I'm dead. And then he's like, he's like, well, if I could figure out a way to bow out gracefully, maybe. I don't know. He's like just trying to keep people on the hook.
Be Batman. I'm gonna do the score. I'm not gonna direct it. I'm not gonna do the score.
Well,
I would
honestly think
just run away from it as fast as you can.
Well, he's probably into it while he's acting, and then he sees it, and he's like, "Oh, well, maybe I can
there's
get out of here."
that thing that came out when Batman vs Superman came out, where you see he's doing an interview right next to Henry Cavill, and Henry Cavill's like, he's got his shit-eating grin, and he's like, "Yeah, it's great," and then somebody says something, and then you just see Ben Affleck's face just go completely solemn, and he looks sad.
Yeah, I saw that.
And like everyone played the "Hello, Darkness, my old friend" over it because clearly like he knows that the movie's not good. Because Ben Affleck's been around, he's been in some shitty movies, and he's been in some amazing
How
movies.
about
He
them
knows.
apples?
He does. I think he does. I think he should just come back as Alfred.
He's the same
He's
age
old
as
enough,
Jeremy
for sure.
Irons. Like they look the same
He
age.
is. Just do that. Just give some more humor to the film and put in Jake Gyllenhaal because he's got that darkness.
Oh, we didn't talk
That's
about
the thing.
Alfred.
Michael Caine
No,
was
we
the
didn't.
best Alfred.
Oh no, we didn't. Yeah.
Michael
Very
Caine
true.
was like the best Alfred comic books. What I liked about the original one, honestly, the Bruce Waynes from Keaton to George Clooney are all kind of idiots. Like that Alfred is super condescending to them. Like in the first movie,
Yeah.
there's a point where they're gonna go after the Joker the first time before he actually turns into the Joker, and he's like, "Oh, you should go this way," kind of thing. Keeps trying to tell him you need to go to the other room, trying to tell him to go to the Batcave, and he's just not getting it. Like says it like 8 times, like go this way, go to that room.
Yeah.
And then
And he always had a tray.
and then in Batman in Forever, there's a scene where Robin steals the Batmobile, and he goes, "Master Bruce, young Dick Grayson like took the car." And he's like, "What, the Jag?" He's like, "No, the other car, the Royce. No, the other car, the Maserati. No,
Yeah.
the other car. Fucking the Batmobile, dumbass." Come on, man. Like those Batmans are super, or those Bruce Waynes are super aloof.
Yeah.
Aloof.
But no, Michael Caine's the shit.
Yeah, Michael Caine was awesome. He always like, do you really need to think this through?
He was always like,
Master
"Don't
Bruce.
do
This might not
this.
work
Don't
out
go
for
be Batman.
You don't owe them
go
anything.
learn how to be a ninja. Don't go do all this stuff that's gonna get you killed."
But then he also is
Might
like
not turn out
supportive.
well.
Well, he knows he
Like
can't
he
stop
hides
him.
the letter. Like he hides the letter from Maggie Gyllenhaal saying like, "Yeah, I'm just gonna keep porking
Burns it.
Aaron Eckhart instead of you."
Yeah,
And he's like, "Yeah, he doesn't need to see this," and like protects him.
yeah.
He's
Yeah.
the protector, and he's like, that's the one. I think Dustin and I were talking about this a couple days ago, where he's much more than a butler. Like he's not an employee at that point. Like was entrusted by the
Family.
parents to raise him. Like that's not a normal thing for.
Yeah, I don't
A
know. Do
child
rich
to be
people
given to the
usually
help.
like place their butlers like next in line to raise their kids in an event of an accident?
No,
I don't know.
I don't think
It'd
so.
be interesting to learn how the other half
I'm a
lives.
rich kid.
So yeah, I think we've hit everything. Just why don't you give yourself another plug, Diego, and then we'll start wrapping this up.
Yeah. So, all right. If you guys want to listen to some more about films, get to the podcast. That's the Get to the Pod. Oh my gosh, I can't plug myself right now. Let me just start by saying this. We did 2 podcasts today already. So so my brain is like fried. So if you guys want to listen to any other podcasts besides these guys, who's almost as awesome as these guys, go to Get to the Podcast. That's Get to the Podcast with the number 2.
They're on Instagram and Twitter. We'll put both of their links in our description. So if you guys want to check them out, it'll be really easy. We'll share this stuff. So if you follow us on Instagram or Twitter at MDXpods, you guys will see plenty of stuff. I retweet, Get to the Podcast stuff all the time. But in this episode description, we will have links to their Twitter and Instagram. So check them out. They're great guys. They're pretty funny. You guys have heard Nick before on our Willy Wonka episode. So at this point, you all have met 2 of the 3 guys. You just won't have met Neil. But really great podcast. Check them out. Of course, listen to us on iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Stitcher. Check us out on Patreon. Dustin and I just sent out all the rewards to all the people who signed up last month. So once again, we appreciate all of our patrons who help us out. We're still doing rewards, so check it out. We got some interesting things going on. And thank you guys for listening. Bye.
Adam West. Adios.